Adam Jones of the Baltimore Orioles spoke with USA Today, saying that you haven't seen African-American players joining Kaepernick because, quote, we already have 2 strikes against us already, so you might as well not kick yourself out of the game. In football, you can't kick them out. You need those players. In baseball, they don't need us. Baseball is a white man's sport. SI baseball writer Albert Chen is here. Albert, is this true? Is there that big of a disconnect between African-American players and the rest of baseball?
Well, it depends what you're talking about. I mean, a lot of people have made this point that is baseball a white man's sport? Well, the percentage of white players in Major League Baseball has actually gone down in recent years. But I think what Adam Jones is talking about, and the larger point that we need to keep in mind here, is that if you're talking about the owners, if you're talking about front offices, if you're talking about even the managers, I mean, there are only 2 African-American managers in all of baseball, Dusty Baker and Dave Roberts. And you can even talk about the media. Just walk through any press box. Is it predominantly white? Absolutely. So Adam Jones here is talking about this general unease, almost this discomfort among African-Americans. And look, they make up 8% of the general population in Major League Baseball. Just 3 decades ago, 1986, that percentage was close to 20%, even larger before that. So this kind of speaks to a larger problem, and I think it's an important one to at least talk about.
Adam Jones brought up the idea that if you did take a knee or take a stand, that you could get kicked out of the game. Now, we've seen Brandon Marshall, the Denver Broncos, lose some endorsement deals because of what he's done, but no one has lost their job for taking a stand. Why does Jones think that that would lead to an exit from baseball?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point. Look, Adam Jones is not going to lose his job if he takes a knee or sits out on it. He's one of the most popular players on the Orioles. He's really the face of the franchise. But look, I mean, is there an owner out there among the 30 teams that might take issue with a player who, maybe a utility player who's kind of on the fringe of a roster spot, and this is kind of plays a small part in that decision? There could be, absolutely. So I understand where Jones is coming from here on this point. It may sound extreme, but again, I do hear where he's coming from, and I think he makes a really interesting point here.
And especially because baseball, well, they have a very rich history, not only when it comes to race, obviously Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in 1947, but also with instances of the police and the community, really in Adam Jones's backyard in Baltimore, where a game last year had to be played in front of an empty stadium because of the fallout from the Freddie Gray being killed while he was in police custody. What do you think the response is going to be from baseball, considering this has touched their sport?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it speaks to a question that Major League Baseball has really been facing for a very long time now. When you talk about trends in their demographics, it goes back to the dwindling number of African Americans in Major League Baseball. And Bud Selig has talked about this. Manfred has talked about this as well. Some people have said maybe he should be a little more proactive and outspoken about this. But Adam Jones, at the end of the day, he said in this USA Today piece, and it's an important point, if at the end of the day this is just starting the conversation, I think it's an important conversation to have, and it absolutely is. 8% of Major League Baseball players are African American, and that needs to change. And I think that is a really important issue. And look, I mean, if this kind of opens the door to that discussion about what more can be done, I think it's a good thing.
Quarterback Russell Wilson has a significant ankle injury and puts his Week 2 start against the Rams into question. Wilson injured the ankle in the 3rd quarter after being sacked by Ndamukong Suh, but did not miss any snaps in the game and threw a career-high 43 passing attempts. And no surprise in the postgame,